Alrighty, time for a January wrap up. Hi, I'm Colleen Delaney. If you're new here, I talk about books and writing. In the description, I always put links to my newsletter and some of the books I've written. And if you find that you enjoy this video and you like talking about all different genres of books, or I should say listening to while you do your dishes, which is I think what a lot of people do, then subscribe to this channel because that is what I will give you. So January was a very crazy month for me. I've had very crazy last couple months. So I am approaching February differently than I normally do. November and December, my family had pretty much every virus you could imagine and spent the majority of the time convalescing and missing holidays. And then January, I had an unbelievable amount of writing work to do, which was very stressful, but also kind of cool because it was the first time that writing felt like a legitimate full-time job to me rather than a part-time job. So that was an interesting way to feel, but a little stressful also because, I am also a mother of 4 who I take care of. Not by myself, I am married, but the primary parent too. And then doing this YouTube channel and just other stuff that's going on in my life. I did manage still to read a ton in January, which surprised me because I had a feeling that January is going to be kind of a low reading month because of that. But I have a large stack of books next to me. All of this is to say it is February 6th, I think. That's what today is. Or it's the 5th. I don't know. It's the 5th or the 6th. What is wrong with my brain? I just started reading my first book of the month last night and I only read 3 chapters. So I let myself have a very quiet start to February, which was nice. And now I'll get back into my normal scheduled activities. But let's talk about the books I read in January. So lately I've been doing my wrap-ups, ranking my books from least favorite to most favorite, and I can't do it this month because there's quite a few books that I really, really loved and I don't want to rank them. So I'm not going to. I'm going to just tier rank them. So we're going to start with the books that I wasn't as crazy about and then go to the ones I really loved. And just a caveat, there were no books this month that I didn't like. So even the first books I'm going to talk about, I still really enjoyed them. Okay, so the first book I'm going to talk about is Lore Olympus, Volume 5. So I've been reading this series for a while now. It was a webtoon, and now you can buy these beautiful bound versions every couple months. And the only reason this one is low-ish, I still really like this book, is because until the end of this book, I was really feeling like I might stop reading the series because it just was feeling very repetitive. It's a slow burn relationship between Hades and Persephone. We're on Volume 5. Each volume is, let's see if there's even page numbers on this. There are not page numbers. I mean, I don't know how many pages that is. It's over 200. So we are over 1,000 pages in, and it feels just like what is happening with these two? Are we ever going to get a relationship? And finally, at the end, the last 25% of the books, a big thing did happen. And so I was like, okay, I will continue reading. And I mean, I read it for the artwork, and my 8-year-old is obsessed. She said she cannot wait until she can read these because she's too young still, but she loves all the pictures, and I think the artwork is just really beautiful. But I did feel like the story was getting a little slow, but now I think we've picked back up. I will get Volume 6 and continue on with it. Next, I read Inkblood Sister Scribe by Emma Torres. This is a standalone fantasy novel with a very interesting magic system that has to do with books and blood, as you can tell from the title. Our main characters are Esther and Joanna, who are 2 sisters who are separated due to magical reasons. Esther is on Antarctica at one of the science stations when we begin, and Joanna is living in their childhood home, and they both have some weird magic stuff going on. And then we also have a third narrator whose name is, I want to say Nicholas, and now it's flown out of my brain. Yes, I was right, it's Nicholas. And he lives in England, and he is having some magical issues too with his blood. I thought that this book suffered a little at the beginning with having narrators that aren't as strong as others when you're switching point of views. So I loved Esther's narration in Antarctica. That was the most favorite. I was reading, trying to get to her part. I also really liked Joanna and their childhood home. Hers felt very, very mysterious. And then after we had done a couple of chapters, just switching back and forth between them, we added Nicholas. And I didn't really like his narration as much. Eventually, all 3 of them are together, so you're following the same plot line, and then I felt like the book picked up again. So I think if you're looking for a standalone fantasy with a new feeling magical system that you would really like this book. Next, I have The Wrong Highlander by Lindsay Sands, which is in the Highland Bride series, and I don't remember what number it is. Sorry. But in this, we have Lady Edwina McLean, and she has an ill father and has heard that Rory Buchanan, who was one of the Buchanan brothers, is an amazing healer. And she decides to kidnap him and take him to her father. But when she gets there, she accidentally kidnapped Conran, one of his brothers who looks a lot like him. But Conran has some healing skills because he's lived with his brother. And so he manages to like kind of play the part of his brother for a while. And they get together, and then she finds out he's not Rory. And there's always someone trying to get murdered, someone trying to murder the hero and the heroine in all these books, and this is no different. And these are just really fun, like Scottish Highlander romps. I wouldn't say it's like the best Scottish Highlands romance I've ever read, but it was fun and I read it quickly and I enjoyed it. Next, I have kind of a weird book for me, and you're gonna see all my Post-it notes in it. I have Own Your Space, Attainable Room by Room Decorating Tips for Renters and Homeowners by Alexandra Gator. Gatter. I'm not sure how you say her name. She has a YouTube channel. I don't watch her YouTube channel that often. I've seen a couple episodes, but as you can tell by all the bookmarks, she's a lot of good advice in here for interior design tips. I'm in the midst of doing some redecorating, and I've currently got a bunch of paint squares on the walls in this room. So at some point, hopefully this month, I will not be filming in here because I will be painting this room, and this is going to take me a very long time because this room has a lot of windows and 4 doorways and a mantle. So there's no easy wall to just roll it out and paint it. So it probably will take me at least 2 weeks to get it done. But she had a lot of good tips in here, especially because I want to like do some home revamping without spending a lot of money. So I'd like to do it myself. I'm going to paint a bathroom this week. It's all very exciting. Last winter, my husband taught me how to paint a room because he worked for a painting company when he was in college. And so he assisted, but he taught me how to paint a room well, and we painted our daughter's room. And it was a nightmare because her bedroom walls were like dark gray. The people that lived here before, a teenage boy had her room. So they were like very, very dark gray, and her favorite color is white. And she was obsessed with the idea of having a white room. And I was kind of like, we should paint her walls white while she wants them white, because that's like a good color that'll last forever. It's not like she's picking like hot pink that she's gonna hate when she's 12. So we did that, but it took 4 coats of paint and forever. And it was very cold trying to paint with all the windows open last January. So that's all to say. I learned how to paint last year. I have several rooms I want to paint this year. I'm going to try and do 2 in the next 6 weeks. Back to the book. She had a lot of really cool tips in here. And also I'm like moving all my furniture around. And that's something like my mom always did when we were kids. We wanted our rooms to feel different. We'd move our furniture around. So I'm doing that in a couple of rooms in the house. And she had some good tips for like how to plan spaces, which I really liked. Next, I have another book from Book of the Month. And it was one of my picks for January. It was one of the add-ons. And it's Northwoods by Amy Peace. And this was classified as a crime fiction, which I thought was so interesting because I didn't think I'd ever seen a book classified as such on Book of the Month. It'd always been like a thriller or a mystery, but I got it. And that was a perfect classification. And this is meant to be a very good compliment. This book felt very much like watching a really great episode of Law and Order. So you follow Eli North, who's the detective on the case, who finds the body of a teenager who's in a boat, but has clearly been murdered. It doesn't look like an accident. And he is a veteran who is horribly struggling with PTSD and self-medicates with alcohol. So the majority of the time, you're seeing the case through his eyes. He is drunk. And his mother is a main character too. And I was blanking on her first name. I think it's Maeve. It's not Maeve, it's Marge. His mom is like the sheriff. She's in charge. And she's really trying to help him like get his life back together. We also have an FBI agent eventually who gets involved because of what this case tends to pertain to. It's one of those things where it starts really small and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you have this random narrator, Cal, and you're not sure why you're getting him as a narrator. And it turned out really cool how they wove it all in together. And I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a great crime fiction. You know, I went through a phase when I was obsessed with Law and Order, and it was fun to sort of jump back into that procedural feeling of a case, like watching it through the police officer's eyes. And all the different avenues they take. And it didn't read like a thriller, and it also didn't read like a mystery. So I thought that was a good classification and enjoyable. Okay, so we've reached the point where we're at my top 3 books of the month, which were all fantastic. The first is Follow Me to the Yew Tree by Desiree Nicolay. It's a historical fantasy romance, is the best way to describe it. Our main characters are Erin, I think is how you pronounce it. It's E with an accent, Ireann. And she is kind of like a banshee. So she gets visions of death, and she has to try to warn the people who are about to have horrible things happen to them. And our hero is Elin, Elin, and he is returning from the Napoleonic Wars. He was a sailor, and Erin gets a vision of both them together and kissing, and she's very, very old, and also that he's gonna die. And so she has to try to save him if she wants to be with him. This was very beautifully written, and Elin, the hero, has a chronic illness, which you should read the foreword and the afterword to this book, because Desiree Nicolay talks about her both personal experience and family experience with this particular chronic illness. And I really loved reading that portion of it because it felt so well done, especially in a historical setting. One of my favorite things about the hero also is he has hold fast tattooed on his knuckles, and I love that tattoo for sailors. I think it's very nice. And so that was very fun to read. And I really enjoyed this. It's a quick read. It's on ebook or print, so you should grab a copy of it. Next, I read Lucky Strike by Janine Amesta. This is the 3rd book in the Love and El Dorado series. So the first one was Striking Gold, and the second one was A Poinsettia Paradise Christmas. And then this is the end of the trilogy. In this one, we have Luna as our main character, who we have met in the other books because she is the cousin of the hero from book 1, and she's like a self-proclaimed brat. She is very no filter, like says what she says. And because of that, feels kind of like she doesn't really deserve anything more than a fling with anyone. And then we have, as a minor character, Mia, who's her cousin's wife from the first book. And we begin the story with Mia wanting to take some pictures of Luna in their family business's jewelry for promotion. And so they go to a park, and she's taking pictures of Luna in the jewelry. And then Mia sees this guy and is like, hey, will you be in this picture? Can we do a couple's picture? Luna's annoyed, but the guy says yes. And they're doing a couple's picture, and Mia like signals to Luna to kiss him. And she's going to kiss him on the cheek, and the guy turns right at the same time, and they end up kissing on the mouth. And Luna gets so angry, and the guy's like, okay. So that's the meet cute, because the hero ends up being Sam, that man, who ends up being the apartment manager of the place that Luna's about to move into. What follows is a very contentious relationship between a renter and the building property manager. And Luna really wants to change a bunch of stuff, and she's like, very outspoken, and she's very much like, I want what I want, and I want it now. And Sam's not very like that, and he kind of is trying to figure out how to handle her. One of my favorite things about Janine Amesta's books is that she writes very realistic people in terms of like what else is going on in their lives. So, you have the love story, but then you also have like, everybody has other drama. They have family stuff or work stuff or like whatever. And she's really good at writing that into books. So I really liked the stuff that both Luna and Sam were going through. And I'm not going to tell you what Sam was going through because it's kind of a spoiler of the book. But it was a great read. It felt so nice to read their happily ever after. And then lastly, I have Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross, which I adored this book. I have the sequel coming in the mail from Book of the Month as we speak. I think it's supposed to arrive tomorrow or the next day. And this is about Iris and Roman. And Iris is our main narrator, but Roman is also a narrator. And the best way I can describe this book is it's about being a war correspondent in a fantasy novel. So I think I got some like aesthetic stuff on Instagram that was very much like, this is dark academia. This didn't feel dark academia to me. I think a better aesthetic for it would be like World War I, but fantasy. Basically, there's a war going on between gods. Iris's brother has heard the voice of a goddess to fight for her side, and he's left to do that. And she's working at a newspaper, and she becomes a war correspondent. And Roman is also working at the same newspaper with her, not in the war. And then situations happen in which he follows her to the front. There's also these magic typewriters that can like write back and forth to each other, which was absolutely beautiful. So you have a lot of This novel is written in letters, which was very enjoyable. It's a YA, and I almost never enjoy YA, and I really loved it. So I can't wait to read the next one. I did see that people were posting about how the second one made them cry so hard, and I'm such a baby when it comes to books. And so I'm gonna have to pick a time where I feel okay about crying my face off and like being upset for a couple days, which I'm guessing is probably gonna be more towards the end of the month and not the beginning of the month. So I'll try and get it in my February wrap up, but it probably won't be in any vlogs I do this month. And that's everything I read in January. So I think I did a pretty good job considering it was a very busy month. Reading some good stuff, right? I hope you had a wonderful January reading month too. I feel like we're finally now getting out of like the dark time of the year, which maybe you love, and maybe you love reading and being cozy in the dark, but I love nothing more than sitting outside on a beautiful day with my book. So I'm hoping that, you know, those groundhogs said early spring. And we have an El Nino weather pattern in North America right now. So I'm really hoping that by April, I am sitting in my backyard with a book, burning through wonderful reads. If you're still here, thanks so much for hanging out for this long. And if you read any of these books, please let me know what you thought of them. And if not, let me know what the best book you read in January was. If you've made it this far and you don't want to write words, I will take, let's see, how about a blue heart emoji today? It's a little bit of mixing January, February. I feel like January's color is blue and February's all about the hearts. As always, I hope you're in the middle of a good book, about to start reading a good book, or about to start writing a great book. I'll see you soon.